Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. Lazio Milan, first leg of the Coppa Italia, finished 0-0. Why did it finish 0-0? What did Lazio do right? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to briefly break down how Lazio and Milan drew 0-0. So before we get into today's video, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it. The bell below does give you daily notifications regarding our organic, unfiltered soccer/footy analysis. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Today's video, we're going to break down the first half, see how both sides look to approach the game, how Lazio were able to stifle Milan, and where they found advantages across the pitch. But first, let's get to the starting lineups. We look at Lazio, more of a 3-5-2. Joaquin Carrera and Immobile up front. Out in the wing-back roles, they went with Romelu and Lulic, and in midfield, Milinkovic-Savic, Parolo, and Lucas Leiva. Then we move to Milan, 4-3-3, a bit of a change here. Borini, Suso, and Piatek up front, and in midfield, they went with Paqueta, Frank Kessie, and Bakayoko. So now let's look to the first half, see how Lazio shaped up and what they did right to prevent Milan from taking control of the game. So when we break down Lazio against Milan, the first thing we do have to think about is Lazio's pressing from the front, because that was one of the key themes of this matchup here. Obviously, when you break it down, you have the front two stepping to the center backs. What you should have here is the wing backs pushing forward up onto the full backs and having the back three deal with the back three, and then have your center forward step into that position as well. What we ended up seeing here was that we had, obviously, like I said, the center forwards pushing forward. You had Bakayoko trying to split in between them, and that would leave Milinkovic-Savic stepping to him. So that would ensure that he had pressure on the ball whenever he was to receive it, and that would leave Lucas and Parolo to deal with their markers. That means Lucas would push out to Frank Kessie, and Parolo would stay with Paqueta. With that being said, in the earlier stages, we barely saw the fullbacks being pressed because Lazio's wingbacks were staying a bit deeper. As the game wore on, probably in the opening 10 minutes, we finally saw Romelu kind of pushing forward to his marker there down the left-hand side, and that was pivotal because that ensured that they couldn't push forward as well, and we saw that happen. But for the most part, we did see them push the wingbacks forward to ensure that they couldn't get onto the ball, and then it was very simple because Parolo would stay with Paqueta, you would have Kessie with Lucas, and then the back three against the front three. Donnarumma did try and test it on a few occasions when we saw Paqueta drop off a bit deeper, but Parolo tracked him well and he was forced to play it back. And eventually later on when Çalhanoğlu came on, he did that as well, and Çalhanoğlu played it back to him. But that was how they went about things. They pressed from the front. Milan could never really build from the back, and when they dropped off a bit deeper, it made it even easier because now they were more of a 5-3-2. They would have Joaquin and Immobile sit in between Bakayoko. Then the midfield battle will be set, and they would ensure that they shut down the midfield out of the game man v man. When the ball got pushed out to wider areas, that was on the shuttler to step out. With that being said, obviously if they had the opportunity to push the wing backs into those positions to step forward, they would. But you would also see Parolo push out to the left and then have Lucas pick up Paqueta. And if the ball pushed out to the right, Milinkovic-Savic would shift over, Lucas pick up Kessie, and then keep their base shape there. And that's how they were going about things. And that was how Milan kind of struggled to really get things going, because as we've said this season, they lack a creator in midfield to break those lines. Paqueta struggled, poor passing, constantly giving the ball up. Up front, Piatek was isolated, and Acerbi did a very good job on him. And Borini and Suso couldn't get into the game. Bastos did a very good job on Suso when he did tuck in. So that was how they kind of went about things there. On the flip side, Milan struggled defensively. It's a bit odd because the way that they did struggle was from avenues that you would expect them to, and you'd expect Gattuso to really get the job done there to ensure that those issues were obviously dealt with. When you think about it, if they push the wingbacks forward, what they do have here is a 4v1 because they have the 3v1 with Piatek there. They weren't really pressing high from the front. So what happens is that Lucas would often drop off into that space to get on the ball as well. So there was always a passing avenue. In midfield, they lined up the same way. And Milan, like I said, not looking to press, focusing on their shape, but where they were finding avenues out in the wider areas. When you think about it, it's odd that Lazio didn't really play down the left-hand side, given the fact that Suso isn't renowned for tracking the runs of players pushing forward, and Lulic was able to get forward on various occasions, whereas on the right-hand side, Borini is renowned for his ability to track the runs of fullbacks. So with that being said, you would expect him to do a job there, but although he did start the half very well in terms of tracking Romelu eventually found gaps. We looked at one of the first opportunities. You have Lucas sliding the ball out to Patrick, and Patrick's able to poke it into the path of Romelu, and he notices that Parolo's making the run off Paqueta, and when he does make that run, Paqueta does track a bit late, and it forces Parolo to sky his cross over the net. Shortly after that, we have Patrick involved again, where we see Suso trying to play the ball to Paqueta, breaking forward on the counterattack, and Patrick intervenes, and he breaks forward ahead of Laxalt and Bakayoko, but he lashed his shot inches wide of the net. As the half goes on, you have Lulic squirt to Milinkovic-Savic, who is deeper, and what we see here is Parolo sitting on his marker down the left-hand side in Laxalt. And when he sits on Laxalt, what we do see is Borini high, and we see the space of Romelu breaking in behind him. So Borini tracks it a bit late, but when the diagonal ball is clipped into that space, Borini tracks and Laxalt cuts to him, but Romelu's able to chest it beyond both and square it into the path of Milinkovic-Savic, or into the path of Immobile, but Immobile lashes his effort inches wide of the net from point blank range, with Musacchio coming over to him. So you see what they're trying to do there. Shortly after that, what we end up seeing now is that Frank Kessie does go off, and Paqueta switches to the opposite side of midfield, so Çalhanoğlu could come in, and he never really settled into the game or helped Milan push forward. But what we did see was that the ball was shifted out to Romelu, and he's closed by Çalhanoğlu, but he's simply able to run by him and drive forward towards the box, where he slides the ball in between Çalhanoğlu and Laxalt for Milinkovic-Savic at the edge of the box, and he overhead kicks his shot to the other side of the touchline. But again, you just see how easy it was for Romelu to break forward, and that was one of the issues that Milan had here. But it also stemmed from direct play, Strakosha clipping the ball out to Milinkovic-Savic, who nods it over Paqueta, and it simply falls to Lulic, who is now able to drive forward because you have Suso trying to press Bastos, and he breaks all the way forward towards goal and fires a shot on goal that, although it does not hit the target, you kind of see how they're able to break forward because of the way Milan are positioned. One of the final opportunities, this stems from a more intricate method of play, because they were able to push forward and break lines in between Bakayoko and in between Paqueta. That happened here when we saw Borini dispossess in midfield, and Lucas slid the ball into them for Joaquin, and he slides it out to Immobile, who's now able to run at the center backs, and he's able to slide the ball across Musacchio for Joaquin, breaking into that left half space, and obviously Romagnoli tracks him, but when he pulls it back for Romelu, breaking in ahead of Laxalt because Borini isn't there and it's behind Bakayoko, his first touch isn't good and he's unable to really get the shot off. But when you break down the first half as a whole, you see how they're able to break down the wide areas. Like I said, they also were able to find little avenues to poke passes in between midfield. We saw that happen for Milinkovic-Savic, who guided a shot wide. We saw him play a pass into Immobile in the left half spaces, but predominantly they were finding space down the right hand side because neither winger was doing a competent job of tracking their runners, and Milan didn't really offer a threat because they couldn't get anything to Piatek. There was no counter-attacking spark through Paqueta or through the wider players, and they only had one shot on net from distance in the opening half, and it was a tame effort from Çalhanoğlu. So with that being said, now we have to look to the second half, see if anything changed, and move forward from there. The pattern of the match didn't change in the second half. We still saw Milan struggling to break on the counterattack, sitting off in their half, protecting their backline in more of a 4-5-1. But what we did see is an improved effort from the wider players to close down, well, more so from Borini to close down Romelu, who was getting forward in that half, because we saw Parolo holding trying to stay in front of Lazio to ensure that they freed up space for Romelu to get forward. But Borini did a better job, more so in 1v1s. And whenever Romelu tried to break forward, he never really offered much of a threat. And when he was able to slightly gain a yard on him, his crosses were poor. On the other side, it was still strange that we didn't see Lulic get passes played into him based off the fact that Suso wasn't really doing a good job of tracking him. Nonetheless, that was the avenue for Lazio to break into, because when you look at how their front line was kind of set up, you just saw that they had the two players in Joaquin and Immobile kind of in the same central areas, and that was also where Milinkovic-Savic was staying. So they were kind of blocked off there. They couldn't really get passes into those zones, but the wider areas were free for Lulic and Romelu to possibly break forward, and that was where they could have went about things. But when they did get their chances, we saw from the press, they still try to press from the front with Savic pushing into Bakayoko, and on two occasions, again, Donnarumma trying to play it into him. He passed it back. On another occasion, Bakayoko tried to be nifty and get away from the Savic press, but Savic did sit on him. As the game wore on, though, eventually we did see that press kind of drop off, and they did move more back into their 5-3-2 without the ball. However, they were able to get opportunities on the counterattack, and it was from good work rate. And we saw Milan kind of try to play through Calabria down the right-hand side, but they were able to really close that down. We saw one opportunity where Calabria plays the ball into Bakayoko, and Joaquin steps to him to dispossess the ball and play it into Immobile, who runs at the center backs with Lagzal coming across. And it was Lucas who charged forward, and when he slid the ball to him, he tried to take his first touch around Lagzal, but he cleared his lines. That was one opportunity where they're able to break on the counterattack. Another opportunity saw Lucas track Calabria all the way down that right channel, and when he did that, he played it to Immobile dropping off, and Immobile skipped past Bakayoko with ease and slid it out to Joaquin down in the right channel, or the left channel, and he was 1v1 with Paqueta, and he was able to skip past him and then run at Musacchio and cut outwards, but he wrapped a tame effort on goal. Like I said, a lot of their chances were on the counterattack because they weren't really creating much from open play. Donnarumma wasn't tested. We saw changes made. We saw Luis Alberto come on for Parolo, and then that ended up pushing out Savic to the opposite flank, and we also saw Castillejo come on for Suso, and that ensured that they had more protection down that right hand side. But not many chances for Milan, not many for Lazio. Milan had one opportunity towards the end of the game where it's Suso breaking forward with Castillejo, or it's Castillejo breaking forward with Calabria after the ball was switched out there, and Castillejo ended up dropping it off to Calabria, who delivers a cross into the box, and we see Piatek. We see the run from Borini to pull out Acerbi, and he nods it into the path of Piatek at the far post, who was able to get over two markers in Patrick and Romelu to guide an effort wide of the net. But when you break down this game as a whole, Lazio's pressing was key. Their shape did deny Milan chances to push forward, and when you look at it, they had outlets out in the wider areas. But this is the same thing with Lazio. As good of the football that they do play against the bigger sides in Italy, once they get to the final third around the box, they lack that final piece of quality to put the game to bed. Rest for Milan, not their best performance during this resurgence with Piatek and Paqueta. They were a bit standoffish, very sloppy, no real counterattacking threat. Piatek was starved for service, but they were able to get a result here. And now looking forward to the second leg at home, they would like to think that they have what it takes to get to the Coppa Italia final. But let me know what you guys think. Who benefited more from this result, Lazio or Milan, and why? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.